Summer is the season of playfulness, of enjoying life the way we did as children, free from worries and able to turn even the simple everyday things into something extraordinary. It's the season for picnics and pretty dresses, of sunny days and ice creams. And yet, I always say I'm not a summer girl. I think what I mean is that I dislike heat waves and violent storms, the weather aspect of summer. And I allow this idea to cloud my judgment of the season overall. Yet there is so much more to summer than its weather. It's a time to enjoy the light, the beautiful evening skies, and to romanticize life to the fullest. So today in this video I'm going to be making my summer starter pack. I'm going to create my own seasonal bucket list, some book recommendations, film and TV shows, all these recommendations both for you and for myself to really get me in the mood to enjoy this summer. I really wish to have this kind of soft summer, a summer like something out of a book or stepping into a fairy tale. So we're going to start off by making a seasonal bucket list of ideas and just things that I wish to do this summer. Nothing grand, no overseas holidays or big adventures, but just small things such as going strawberry picking. There's a farm near to where I live that does strawberry picking and I really want to give it a try this year. I would also love to see the sea. I haven't been to the coast for like 4 years now, even though I can just kind of take the train to get there, but I just really would love to feel the salty breeze against my face. And I would also like to go on as many picnics as possible. This is the picnic season, so I want to make the most of it, as well as reading some seasonal books. I would also this season really like to rewatch some classic Disney movies. I'm going to talk about that more later, but I'm just really into the mood for some classic Disney and also maybe to try out a new hobby. I always like having this new hobby box for pretty much every season so that I can really just test out as many different hobbies and as many different things as I want to and see what I like. I also want to make ice lollies so I can enjoy them when it does get hot. Also, I want to work in a cafe this season. This has been on my bucket list since winter and I haven't done it. For anyone new, hi, I'm Katie Kay. I am a published author and writing is kind of my full-time job. But I am a homebody, so I always just work from home and I really want to sort of change that and step out of my comfort zone and write out in a cafe and out and about, but I haven't done it. So this season I really wanted to make it my goal to tick that one off. And also just the last box, I also just want to bake something new. I love baking, as you guys know. It's always turning up in my cozy hobby vlogs. So I really want to try out a new recipe this season. I haven't yet decided what though. Now let us pick out some books to get us in the mood for the season. I love seasonal reading. I feel like it really adds to the magic of the book and to the magic of the season. To start with, we have Kiki's delivery service. Now this follows Kiki, who is a young witch who has just turned 13, and in the world of the novel, when a witch turns 13, they are required, kind of as a rite of passage, to move to a new town and set up as a witch there. And Kiki moves to a new town which is right by the sea. For those of you who like Studio Ghibli movies, I'm sure you're already kind of pretty familiar with this story, as it is pretty similar to the film actually. It's set by the seaside and it's just a wonderful, cute, middle grade fantasy story. It's a nice, easy read and it's just perfect when you fancy a bit of magical fun as well as a summery setting. Sticking with books that have a Studio Ghibli adaptation, we have Howl's Moving Castle. Now this is a book that I've probably talked to death about on this channel, as it is my favourite book. I absolutely love it. It follows Sophie Hatter, who catches the unwelcome attention of the Witch of the Waste and is turned into an old woman. Deciding she has nothing more to lose, Sophie makes her way to the moving castle that hovers on the hills around her town. But this castle is said to belong to the dreaded wizard Howl, whose appetite, they say, is satisfied only by the souls of young girls and his fire demon Calcifer. Now, this is one of those books that there's just something about it that feels summery. There's just this whimsical, magical, just fun. It's just a good, easy read that is it'll just put you in a good mood. And reading this and just watching the movie, it just sounds perfect for summer for me. It's just the perfect sort of time to read and watch Howl's Moving Castle. This next book is one that I read a few years ago as a Kindle book, and it's called A Sky Painted Gold. This is set in the 1920s and follows Lou, who ends up getting mixed up with this pair of rich siblings as they move into a town, and kind of gets caught up in their lifestyle in this whole different world from her own. It is a middle grade kind of young YA book that honestly doesn't have loads in terms of plot, but looking for a book that really just sets up that summer aesthetic, that summer mood, then this is definitely the book for it. It's just read it for the vibes, is what I'm saying. Next up, we have this very pretty book, which is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. Now, this is a retelling of a Korean legend, and it follows Minna, who takes the place of her brother's fiance and sort of sacrifices her herself to the sleeping sea god. The sea is obviously a massive factor in this book, which is kind of the main reason I consider it a summer read. It's also another kind of nice, easy, fun, magical read. It's kind of like Spirited Away meets a K-drama. Two of my two favourite things in one. It is very YA fantasy. The love story moves a little bit quick, but I just loved it. And sometimes that kind of just easy, fun, magical read is just what you're looking for. And I especially find that in summer. That's my type of I suppose you call it my type of beach read. And sticking with my kind of beach read, we have The Paper Magician. Now this is just another really fun, whimsical story. It follows Connery, I don't know, I can never remember how to pronounce her name, who ends up with this magical apprenticeship that she doesn't really want, but when she gets there, her master, Emery Thane, is almost fatally wounded and she ends up having to try and save him. That's a very basic summary of what the first book's about, but I absolutely love this whole trilogy. It's such an easy, whimsical, magical read. Emery is an absolute gem. I love him, and there is the sweetest romance line throughout the series, and it's just delightful. And like I said, this is my type of beach read. I don't tend to read kind of romances or that type of books set necessarily out summer, but when it's summer, I just kind of gravitate towards those easy, fun, whimsical, magical reads, just like this one. Or on the flip side, the other type of books that I gravitate towards are classics, such as Emma by Jane Austen. Now, I absolutely love Emma. It's one of my favourites of Jane Austen. Follows Emma, who is this sort of self-professed matchmaker, and the trouble that shakes up her life and her heart when two of her old acquaintances enter the neighbourhood. It's just such a fun time. I loved this book. Knightley is definitely one of my favourite Austen heroes. He's just wonderful, and the back and forth between him and Emma is just, it's so lovely to read. Like with most of Jane Austen's books, the actual events do go sort of across the year. There is bits where it's like Christmas and stuff like that, but there's just something about this one that makes me think of summer, perhaps because picnics form quite a important factor in this story, so perhaps that makes me think of summer. But there's just something about it that is just, oh, it's so delightful, and I love reading it around this time of year. And sticking with Regency, but moving a bit away from classics, I recently listened to the audiobook of Miss Newbury's List, and oh, it was so delightful. It follows Miss Newbury, who is married soon, and she made this list of things she wanted to do before she got married. She made this list when she was younger and she kind of forgot about it, but now she's about to get married, she remembers it again, and she sets off to complete the stuff on this list. And it is just, oh, it's just lovely. It's such a wonderful story, and it is set in summer, and it's just about enjoying all the little things, and there's a really cute romance in it as well. And it's just, I thoroughly enjoyed listening to this as the audiobook, and yeah, it's a really lovely, wonderful, cute Regency story. Now, if you're the type who prefers a bit more of a summer-ween, sort of summer chills type of book, then I recommend The House of Salt and Sorrow. If you want something a bit more gothic, this is definitely the one to go for. It is a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses fairy tale. It is gothic, it is creepy, there's this lighthouse and it's set by the sea, and oh, it's just a really great, fun, well, fun's probably not quite the right word for it, but it's a really enjoyable retelling. It's just creepy. It's perfect for when you want to kind of cool down with some creepy chills this summer. And sticking with gothic but kind of going back to classics, we have a book that I've not actually read. So the rest of these books I've all read. This one I haven't, but it's kind of top of my what I would like to read this summer, and that is Rebecca. Now, this is a classic that I actually have been recommended by quite a few people. A couple of people in the comments actually mentioned it as well. And I don't actually know loads about this book. I know it kind of follows a young woman who marries this older guy who's rich and has a mansion or something. But he's kind of like haunted by the memory of his first wife, Rebecca. And I know there's a lot of creepy gothicness to it. So yeah, like I said, I have never read this one, but I really want to. It's been on my list for a long time, and I just kind of feel that summer's the time to read it. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's actually more of an autumn book. I'm only going to know once I actually read it. Moving away from the gothic and the creepy and to just back to wholesome, fun, fantasy, yeah, just delightful. We have The House is it on in the Cerulean Sea. Now this is just, it's adorable. This follows Linus Baker, who lives a quiet life monitoring magical orphans for the department in charge of magical youth. And one day he is assigned this classified assignment to travel to this orphanage where there are like 6 dangerous children reside, and decide whether or not it's up to standard. But once he's there, Linus finds out there's a lot more to these children than the paperwork shows, and also finds himself growing closer to their charming guardian, Arthur. This book it's just adorable. It's set by the sea, and it just makes me think of summer as well, as it's so beautifully written, and it's so nice as well to see a book where the main characters are sort of like in their 40s and not your typical main lead type characters, and you really get to see them grow, and just sort of shows that it's never too late to follow your dreams. And it's a really sweet story, and it's got a bit of sort of fantasy, it's got romance, it's just fun, and I think it's a great book to read over the summer. But that said, when I actually think of summer, the first kind of genre that comes to mind isn't really the whimsical fantasy books, though they're the ones that I tend to read the most of. The genre that actually comes to mind is murder mysteries. Specifically cosy murder mysteries. I don't know what it is. I think it might be that because during summer when I was younger, it was when like on daytime television they would have like the old Miss Marples on, so maybe that's why I do associate summer with Agatha Christie's. This book is Midsummer Mysteries, and I actually started this last year in summer. I started reading like a little short story, I think it was like almost every weekend or something like that, because this is a short story collection. It features a mixture of short stories from Agatha Christie, all kind of seasonally set, so they're all kind of set, or there's something about them that makes them summery, and it features all her different characters from Miss Marple and Poirot to Tommy and Tuppence, and some of them that just don't feature any of those characters. It's all just a real mix of her short stories, and they're so much good fun. I think I got about halfway through last year, so my aim for this summer is to finish the rest of this. And also, I want to read more Dorothy Elsayer's murder mysteries too. Now, Dorothy Elsayer's, it was a contemporary to Agatha Christie, and she writes some fantastic murder mysteries. They are honestly so good. Her Lord Peter Wimsey mystery series is fantastic. Yet she's kind of become like vastly underrated. It is, you don't really see lots of people recommending her books. However, I think I've read like a couple and I really enjoyed them, and so my aim for this summer is actually to read some more of her works. Moving away from books, summer TV shows and summer films are another perfect way to sort of enjoy the season. I mentioned Kiki's Delivery Service and A Howl's Moving Castle earlier, and both these have incredible animated movies by Studio Ghibli, and honestly, all Studio Ghibli movies could be watched. Spring and summer is kind of the time for Studio Ghibli movies. It just sort of matches their aesthetics, and it's just, they're just the perfect cosy, they're just such great films. I highly recommend checking out some Studio Ghibli movies over the summer. They're just great. And another Japanese animated movie that I want to recommend is Your Name. Now, this follows two students who end up swapping bodies, like soul swapping and swapping bodies, and honestly, actually no, that's all I'm going to give you. There's a lot more to it than that, but I don't want to spoil anything for you because it's such an incredible film, and the last 30 minutes are extremely stressful in kind of the best way. Like, the first time I watched it, I was on the edge of my seat. I had absolutely no idea where it was going to go, and yeah, it's just amazing. I just highly recommend giving it a watch. And actually, I'm just going to stick with animated movies a bit longer and just say Disney movies. Like, that's all I need to say. It's just, there's Tangled, Moana, Little Mermaid, Atlantis. There's so many great Disney movies that fit the summer vibes, and there's just something about Disney movies that are so nostalgic, and they just make me think of childhood summers, off school watching movies. Or perhaps I should actually romanticize that and actually do like a Disney watch party with my friends. That might be fun, because I just love animated Disney movies, and just Disney movies in general. Just, they have that feel to them. There's that nostalgia, there's that fun timelessness that I just want to enjoy, and I feel like summer's a great time to really dive into your inner Disney. And sticking with Disney, we cannot forget like the Disney Channel original movies. One that springs to mind is actually the Lizzie McGuire movie. I love that film, and it is perfect for summer. It's just such a nostalgic movie for me, and it has a banging soundtrack. I suppose, well, it's not really a soundtrack, is it? It's like the theme song. It's just the song in that movie. If you watched it, you know what I'm talking about. It is just such a tune, and I love it. I need to rewatch that this year. I really do. And when it comes to summer movies with great soundtracks, we cannot not talk about Mamma Mia. Both movies, they are just perfect for the summer. They're set on a Greek island. It's just, everyone's just having fun, and it's wholesome, and it's just like, it's great for a good sing song. That's another one that actually I do need to rewatch this summer. I think it's definitely one of those movies that feels like an essential summer movie. You put them, Mamma Mia on, movies 1 and 2, they're both brilliant, and they're like, yes, it is summer. It's time to enjoy. There are actually so many great summer movies that I can think of. Like, there's Princess Bride, which is just so much fun, and then you've got like Sound of Music, you've got Cheaper by the Dozen. However, you know what I can't really think of is actually summer TV shows. Not that I personally watch anyway, I'm kind of like coming up a blank. So if you have any that you could recommend me, please put them in the comments, because I really can't think of any other sort of summery TV shows, and I would really like to find a great one to dive into this season. I said at the start of this video that I always say that I'm not a summer girl. However, right now, making this video, I'm so excited for what this season has to offer. Perhaps all I needed was a moment to stop and think about what I want to do to enjoy this season. Summer is fleeting, and I don't want to look back and wish that I'd done things differently, even if the weather is terrible as it currently is here in the UK. I want to be able to find ways to enjoy this season regardless, and make it a summer I want to remember. With that, we reach the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all take the chance to do something for you this summer. Until next time, my lovely cozy friends.